All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music, doing it in real time for a few real people out here, just like you and just like me. All right, so I was driving down the road, and this song comes on the radio called What Are We Waiting For? And it triggered me. And I am going to be talking about this band called For King and Country. All right. I have to do it. I think other people have covered this band on YouTube or maybe some other platforms, but I want to go to their website. And I'm just going to do a little screen share here. And I want you to know what these guys are about. Now, first of all, these two dudes, right? They remind me a lot of Tears for Fears. And I think I've said a couple of times in my old-fashioned way, they are kind of like a poor man's version of Tears for Fears. They've probably had more success than Tears for Fears. But, these two guys, one guy has a look like one of the old Tears for Fears guys. The other guy has the look, when they were younger. Now, the guys in Tears are a lot older and they look differently. But look at what it says on their web. I want to read this to you. Lush, ethereal, dynamic, evocative, percussive, stark. Joel and Luke Smallbone know how to spin a cocoon of sound that envelops the listener, lace words of truth, and use their voices to lift and inspire. For King and Country, the quadruple Grammy-winning progressive pop artist-songwriters, really? I don't know what's so progressive about it, but okay, progressive pop. What music can do as a positive and emotional force in people's lives is what drives the Sydney, Australia-born, Nashville-based duo. So they left Australia and they moved to Nashville because my guess is they can make more money in Nashville than in Sydney. Just a hunch. Fearless. Fearless? Are they saying anything really controversial in their songs? Fearless in searching for not just commonality, but how we all take the things that scar us and transform them to grow in love. For King and Country offers rigorous engagement with the world. Now, I understand they have this song, God Only Knows, so they do mention God in the song, but it's almost like an expression. Like, God only knows what you've been through, right? People say that all the time, much like God bless you. It's the same sentiment. So they're not saying anything really even remotely Jesus-like. And that's my complaint. I'm going to keep going. And by the time we get to the end here, it's a pretty long about page. This is what they say in the last paragraph. It's this idea. It's all based on fairness, says Joel. And they went through talking about the pandemic here, and I'm not sure why it's still out here, other than to keep scaring people. But there's often a crossroads where you recognize the troubles. This tragedy of the pandemic is a perfect example. It wasn't just New York City or a few countries. It was the whole world. We can use this moment to build a little more resolve. So, For King and Country believes in the build back better concept. Remember that? Everybody was saying it in unison, build back better. We need to, now that we're all suffering, we need to build back better. The arts in general have a tremendous ability to transcend, but not the power of Jesus Christ or the gospel. The arts. No mention of Jesus. This band is played on K-Love like every 5 minutes. All right? And by the way, I was going to mention that they like to pimp out, sorry to use that term. If you're offended by that, I'm sorry. But they take the opportunity to create music with some of their musical heroes. Dolly Parton. Yeah, Dolly Parton was on a song. It's kind of creepy. You got this elderly woman, country music person, and she's hanging out with this band. Doesn't make any sense to me, but, it's Tears for Fears plus Dolly Parton. Kind of reminds me of Queen plus Paul Rogers. I don't know. It's the thing that popped in my head. I'm sorry. Um, Timbaland, Echo Smith, Lecrae, Tori Kelly, and Kirk Franklin. So yeah, there's a little gospel mojo right there with Kirk Franklin. And most recently, the thing that triggered me was this song, What Are We Waiting For? Which is about, I don't know, it's like it could be about procrastination. I'm not sure what the song is about, but they had CeCe Winans on there, who's brilliant, who's an absolute mega unbelievable, like one of the best singers on planet Earth. And these guys are just like your run of the mill. I mean, they're not bad. Look, let me be clear on this, all right? What they do, right, and how they do it is pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. I mean, this stuff at the beginning is all accurate. I'm not too big on the lack of organic sounds in their music. It's all very lush and orchestral, and you could probably program most of it on a computer, though. They probably do, but they're just talking about all of their accomplishments here. Not one word about Christ on here. Not one word about Jesus on here. Grammy and Billboard awards, multiple RIAA certifications, which is very unusual these days. So again, a lot of crossover appeal. You'll hear their stuff on top 40 sometimes, or adult contemporary stations. They had a movie last year which came out, which was about their mother and how she sacrificed and all this stuff. I still don't think they were talking about Jesus at all through that. Maybe she had a great faith, but they just, like, they don't want to mention Jesus. They don't. Or if they do, it's very much in passing. Like, yeah, we can get away with it a little bit and still maybe get our music to a wider audience. Getting your music to a wider audience isn't the gospel. I mean, the gospel is supposed to be somewhat offensive. Now, you want people to hear the true message of the gospel, but this isn't it, folks. This is not it. This part here is really curious. COVID and the lockdown gave the Billboard Music Award winners the opportunity for full immersion into their music. Life slowed down enough to allow an exhale, to take stock of life, count their blessings, and sound a call of compassion, togetherness, and celebrate. What are we celebrating during that time frame? Compassion for who? Compassion for all the people that were lied to? No, that's not it. Time off the road also afforded a diversity of producers. So these guys work with top producers from not only Nashville, but probably all over the world. I mean, they're making lots of money. And their message, quite honestly, is generic. And their music is very lightweight. I mean, it's creative, but it's not my cup of tea. I just want to let people know this is not a band that declares the name of Jesus. Of all the bands, and there are a lot of bands on the radio that do talk about Jesus, and they do it boldly. Unsung Hero is the movie I was talking about. I just don't know what that has to do with Jesus. I mean, you could probably find a link. Well, Jesus was compassionate. Jesus had love on people. He loved people. So we need to love. We need to be the light. We need to be all these sort of new agey things that aren't necessarily overtly Christian. There's no mention of salvation here. There's no mention of the gospel. There's a lot of stuff about how they make this music, and there's another song, I guess, with Dante Bowe, right? They bring in all these people to try to, I think, give their band more credibility. But I don't know, folks. This is one so-called Christian band that irritates me, and maybe they don't categorize themselves as a Christian band, and that's fine. There were bands I remember like 20 years ago that kind of skirted on that. Like Switchfoot had a song called Dare You to Move. Where am I going to move to? Am I moving out of the country? I mean, I don't know, but that was the whole song, Dare You to Move. All right. What are we waiting for? Dare you to move. See what I did there? It's kind of like the same theme. Not much going on. So, if you're getting your theology from For King and Country, quite honestly, I mean, any lousy TV evangelical preacher will give you more of the gospel than what these guys do in their music. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Just wanted to get that off my chest. I just don't like this band, and I don't think they're in this for the right reasons. I think they've invaded the Christian music scene to make a ton of money and to hopefully cross over onto the pop charts.